the things that you're doing could work in the way you want them to work. Okay, and so that's kind of the no-hassle situation. You know, you go downstairs, you open the cupboard, the peanut butter's there, you make a sandwich, you eat it, and then you go back to studying. Pretty not exciting, you know? It's like, it's a boring story. And that's the kind of story you want to inhabit most of the time. You want the things that you know how to do to produce the results that you want to produce to work. And that basically keeps your emotions regulated. So, now that we understand this A to B movement, and we understand how the underlying biological subsystems modulate that, now we can start to think about emotion. All right, so as you're walking towards your goal, you're evaluating what happens as you walk. And as long as the things that you want to have happen are happening while you walk, then your dopaminergic system, which is the source of incentive reward, which is the second kind of reward, your dopamine system is going, good job, good job, good job, good job, good job. And you kind of like that. It keeps you alert. You know you're on the right track. And it reinforces that behavior. Because your body assumes that if the thing that you're doing is working, then the circuit that does that should get a little stronger and a little more well-developed because it's producing the desired outcome. And I think you feel good about that. And I think the reason you feel good about that is because your brain is actually, like, it's in a state of growth. It's producing chemicals that help your brain grow. And I think it's the feeling of that that you have as a positive feeling. Now, how you feel that, I don't know. But why wouldn't you feel that? It's like the thing you're doing is working. It should thrive. And so you're pretty happy about that. And that's like mild level positive emotions. I know what I'm doing. You know, so that's one thing that can happen. Things that you expect or predict. It's expect if you use a pure cognitive model. It's desire if you use a model that incorporates motivation. Because Sokolov and Vinogradova, and to some degree Gray, kind of thinks about the brain as something that predicts and expects. You know, so as long as what you expect to happen is happening, then you stay calm. But there's an error in that, and the error is, well, you don't just expect things, you want them. Right? And you're always aiming at something specific, and it's the biological systems that underlie motivation that are specifying that. So you can't think of yourself as a cold calculating expectancy machine, cognitive expectancy machine, because you're not like that. You want things. Okay, so you're moving along towards your target, and the things that you want to have happen are happening, and the cues that you're approaching the target are appearing as they should be, and your dopamine system, which is grounded, by the way, in half of the hypothalamus. So half of the hypothalamus is devoted towards popping up these little bubbles that tell you what you should want and how to get them, and the other half is devoted to exploring, and mostly to exploring and to paying attention. Okay, so, and it'll be ticking along just quite nicely as long as what you're doing is working. But then we'll say, well, what if what you're doing isn't working? What if you get to the cupboard and you open it and your little brother has eaten all the peanut butter? Well, what you get then is a mismatch. It's like, instead of the presence of the peanut butter, you get the absence of the peanut butter. And that's actually a stimulus. It's so cool. The absence of a desired entity is a punishment. It's a punishment. So that's pretty abstract, right? I mean, it's pretty abstract punishment. It's like a hole where there shouldn't be a hole will produce an orienting response and frustrate you and make you aggressive and irritated and all those sorts of things. And you're going to feel that negatively. Now, that's interesting. That's a punishment. That's a punishment. Now, if you had suspicions that the peanut butter might be missing when you were opening the door, that would make you anxious. Because anxiety, fear, more particularly, fear is the expectation that a punishment might occur. And you have a separate, interesting, even though it's in relationship to a punishment, which you might think of as a primary unconditioned stimulus, right? It's an unconditioned stimulus because you naturally respond to it. Fear, which could be considered a conditioned stimulus, actually has its own circuit. It's so common that what we want might not be there that we've evolved a whole circuit just to deal with things that are threatening as well as things that are punishing. Punishment, pain. Threat, anxiety. Threat is threat of punishment. So it's an abstract form of, it's an abstract representation of punishment. You're anxious so that you don't get hurt. Now you might say, I'm so damn anxious, I'd rather have to hurt, but no, you wouldn't. It's like, it's a lesser price to pay. It's a lesser pain to avoid a greater pain. That's really what anxiety is. So the next time you're anxious, you should be happy about that, because at least you're not in pain. Thought is abstracted action. Right. Because that's where it came from. And so basically what you're doing when you're thinking is you're figuring out action sequences that you could implement and modeling their consequences and evaluating them before you implement them in behavior. And that's why, I think it was Alfred North Whitehead, though I might be getting that wrong, he said, we think so that our thoughts can die instead of us. It's a lovely way of thinking about it, eh? So it's sort of like we generate abstract avatars of ourselves acting in the world, and if the avatar does something stupid, bang, we kill it off, and we don't implement it in our own bodies. That's smart. So basically we're throwing off abstract representations of ourselves so they can perish instead of us. It's pretty cool. It's also what you do when you're playing video games. So, does anybody know where the word avatar came from? Anybody? Yeah, that's exactly right. So an avatar is the embodiment of a deity on Earth. It's such a cool idea. It's so interesting that that word was used to represent your fictional self inside a video game, you know? It's one of the mysteries about words. You never know how those things get generated or catch on. You know, but it's such an interesting idea that you limit yourself in some interesting way and toss yourself into an abstract world, and you think that's really fun. You know, and then that thing dies and gets reborn or does whatever the hell it wants to do, and you think that's very entertaining. But the real you is behind that, you know, and so you can toss off all, what do you call them? Pseudoselves, in a sense, and play about with them without any real cost to you, and maybe with some benefit. And that the term for that is your avatar. That's very cool, that. So, anyways, it is an extension of what you do with your capacity to abstract, right? Because you're producing simulated worlds and you act in a simulated way in them, and that's what you do when you're imagining things. You know, so that's what you do when you write books of fiction. That's what you do when you go to a movie. It's all avatars, one thing, one form or another. So some of those are archetypal avatars.